So distance, speed, and time is what I'm going to teach you today. Now, I gave everyone a piece of graph paper. I'm going to do it a little bit different than I did my second period. Okay, I'm going to start off folding the graph paper. Okay, this graph paper is going to help us understand the math that I'm going to show you today. I'll show you a lot of stuff today. The first problem we do might not be something that you understand. It might take 2 or 3 problems to like 100%. Okay, this piece of paper is going to turn into this. Okay, so this is the end result, Richard. I'm going to guide you through how to fold this, kind of like seminar. Okay, so please pay close attention. Your end result will be a triangle. So, first thing is, take this corner up here, and you're going to fold it, you're going to merge it to this side. Okay, so I'm going to fold it over, and I'm going to line up this edge, okay, so the top edge to this side. So I'm going to fold it over, and making sure that the top aligns to the edge. And fold it. So you end up with this. You end up with this. Okay, so again, this top and the top right here is going to be along this side. So this is over here. So, like that. No. Yeah. End up with this.
Like this?
All right. Now, see this little rectangle piece at the bottom? We're going to fold up. So this rectangle piece at the bottom, we're going to fold up into the triangle. Just like this, up. So this extra piece of rectangle, we're going to fold up. Very good. Okay. So it ends up looking like this. But I want a perfect triangle, right? So I'm going to open up the triangle. Open up the triangle and put this rectangle inside. To like hide it. I just opened up the triangle.
Oh my god.
Oh, I just did
I just
that.
opened
That was
the
so
triangle.
Oh. Do we fold it with this in here?
You're trying to hide that piece of rectangle. And then you fold back your triangle and magically...
It's gone.
Okay, that's a lot better than second period.
We could just cut it.
This is
I don't want to deal with trash. Alright, cool. So this is your end result. Perfect. You hide the piece of rectangle inside. So your piece of rectangle fits inside your triangle. Open up your triangle. Hide it inside. And we're this. We're good? Alright. Alright, let's put this on the side. We won't need it right now. I just wanted to get the folding out of the way. Causes Miss O'Malley a lot of stress when kids can't fold paper. Anyways. Alright. A lot of stuff I have to present. Okay? A day full of stuff. Okay. The first thing we're going to talk about is distance. Okay? Distance. How far is your house from this school? How far is your fourth period?
30 miles.
How far is a little kid's playground? How far is the cafeteria from this classroom? How far is Richard away from the front of the classroom, right? All of this is a distance. What, Isaiah, units do I use to measure distance? Feet. What else? Inches. Write this down, guys.
Meters.
Centimeters, meters. What else?
Yards.
Write this down. Yards. Bigger measurements.
Miles.
Miles.
Kilometers.
Yep.
Light years.
Santiago, I need you to write this down, please. Denise, I need you to focus on writing this down. We can do that later.
Light year.
Light year, yes. it takes how many light years for my students to copy these notes down? Okay. Okay, so distance can be measured in feet, inches, centimeters, yards, miles, and kilometers. When you're doing a word problem, it's in your word problem, you're going to see this. How far, ... When the question in the word problem says how far, your brain should automatically think, oh, we're doing distance. So every time you read how far, you're talking about a distance. Put it in quotation marks. Okay, here is the formula for distance. Distance is equal to speed times time. That is the formula. You know how we just did the formula for a trapezoid? We did base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2 crews. This is what you're going to be using to find distance. This is the formula. Just like we did the formula for the trapezoid, this is your formula for distance. The S stands for speed. The T stands for time. All right, now let's talk about speed. What are the units for speed? Not everybody knows them. What are the units for speed? How do I measure a speed?
Miles per hour.
Very good. Speed is measured in miles per hour, abbreviated as mph. So when you're on the road, when you're walking home, or you're in the car, if you look out the windows, there's usually really big signs that says like 35 mph in the neighborhood. Or if you're on the freeway, it'll say 65 mph. So the speed limit, you shouldn't go faster than those numbers. Okay? Now, what if I were observing a snail that crawled into the classroom? And I wanted to know, well, how fast is the snail crossing my classroom? Would I want to use miles per hour to measure the speed of a snail? No, right? What would I measure it with? What kind of speed?
Centimeters.
Centimeters per...
Hour.
Do I really want to stare at it for an hour?
Seconds.
A minute, a couple seconds, right? So depending on what you're measuring, the units change. So if I were to do a snail, I want to do, not miles. Can you imagine how long it would take him to travel a mile? Whew, for a little snail. I would do probably, so for a snail, I'm going to write that down. For a snail, I would do, what would you guys do? What kind of units? Centimeters per seconds? Or a minute, right? So I would observe it. Wow, go, go, go. Would it move? How far would it move in 5 seconds? Maybe 1 centimeter, right? Maybe it got tired and took a break. So this can change. What's the most popular one? Miles per hour. That's the most popular one. But if I'm going to keep track of a snail or an ant, I'm going to lower it. I'm going to lower it. Centimeters per second. How far? Okay. How are you going to read it in a word problem? It's going to say how, what do you guys think? How far is distance? But speed is how fast. ... So when you're reading a word problem and you're like, what am I solving for? And you read how fast, you're solving for speed. Okay? And the formula for speed is equal to distance divided by time. Distance divided by time will give you your speed. So I would measure how far the snail went. How many seconds did I observe it for? Did I observe it for 5 seconds, 10 seconds? I would take those two numbers and divide to find your speed. All right, the last one. Time. How do we measure time?
Hours.
Hours.
Hours, minutes, seconds, milliseconds.
Hours, minutes, seconds, decades, days, centuries. Yeah. How long does it take my students to complete their homework?
Not much people know about millennia.
Yeah, days. Yeah. How long does it take you to get to your next class? Which unit would I use?
Minutes.
Yeah. How long does it take to drive to Vegas?
Hours.
Hours. So you see how, depending on what we're measuring, we change it up, right?
Months.
Yes. Yeah. It depends on the speed. Depends on the speed. All right. Now this one's tricky. This one's the one that confuses a lot of students, Santiago. When you read how long, ... that means time. But kids, when they read how long, they think it's a distance. How long is it? No. How long does it take you to walk home? Okay? So when you read how long on a word problem, you're solving for time. Now, obviously all of my notes are super important, but these notes will help you tremendously. Like, you cannot choose at this age, you know what, I'm not going to write this down. I'm just going to skip it. You know what, I fell behind, so I'm not going to write this down. The notes that I'm giving you today are going to be so helpful. Even this 2 words are going to help you complete the math easier than some kids who skip the notes. So make sure that you're writing everything down. Not what you want to write down, what I'm telling you to write down. When you're older, you get to decide. Distance over speed. So the formula is, Denise, time is equal to distance divided by speed. Write it down, Daniela, because this is the formula. Distance is equal to time is equal to distance divided by speed. Distance divided by speed. Are we okay? Now, I just gave you 3 formulas in 10 minutes. 3 formulas. 1, 2, 3. And they're all a little bit different. So your job is to memorize them and make sure you use the correct one given the math problem. But wait! There's a way to help you remember them with our trusty dandy triangle.
Dorito Man 2.0.
It's like Dorito Man 2.0, exactly. I love it. Okay, I'm going to show you what to write and how big I need you to write it. So the size I use to write this is actually, Isaiah, important. So I'm going to write it down. I'm going to use distance. I'm going to use a line as a fraction. S times T. Yes, this big. It is important. This is not a time to write small. This is small. No bueno. Do it again.
Oh,
Flip it. Yes, I should be able to see it from here, right?
hold on.
I can't.
Maybe it'll stop. Like this.
All right. Now, the reason we write these letters big is because we're going to be using them depending on what we solve for. All right, and we're going to be covering them up. Okay. If the question is asking you for distance, you know, oh, it's how far, it's distance. What you're going to do, literally, you need to do this right now. Whatever you're solving for, you're going to cover up. So I'm going to take my whole triangle, both pieces, and I'm going to fold over and cover up what I'm solving for. I'm going to cover up what I'm solving for. So if I'm solving for distance, I cover up the D. What is left over? S times T. And that's the formula. S times T. So fold it. Okay. You see? You see it here. Nice and clear. Now, what if I read the problem and it's asking me for the speed? What letter do I cover up for the speed? S. So everything's unfolded now. Now I'm going to cover up the S. Okay, what's left over? D and T. But what does this line mean in math? Divide. So if I want to look for speed, I'm looking for distance divided by time. And if I look at my notes, that's exactly what we wrote down. Distance divided by time. Now, what if I read a question and it says, oh, what's the time? Or how long? What letter do I cover up? The T, go ahead and cover it up. That way your paper is like semi-folded forever. The creases are there. So I cover up the T for time. What is left over? D divided by S. What number is on top? Always your distance. And that's what we wrote down here. So this triangle, in a way, has the three formulas all in one. And this is a lot easier to memorize than these three.
Dorito Man 2.0, except we're destroying his cranium.
Yeah. Well, Dorito Man was like this, wasn't it? Yeah, this is Dorito Man upside down. Now I need it this way. Anyways, all right, let's start.
Look, it's like a little.
Miss Lomelli traveled.
Why is it so
Why not?
Yes.
Why not make it so?
Miss Lomelli traveled for 5 hours in her super cool car.
And when are you gonna tell us what the car is?
You can fill in the blank. There you go. If her average speed was 65 miles per hour, how far did she travel? Question mark. All right, Miss Lomelli traveled 5 hours in her super cool car.
17.
If her average speed was 65 miles per hour, how far did she travel? Okay.
Far enough to go to Las Vegas.
The hardest part of this is figuring out what do we have to solve for? Distance, speed, or time?
How far?
How far? Circle that. Here I am annotating my notes. So avidity of me. I'm trying. Tell her that I'm trying, please. How far means distance, right? So these two keywords, how far means distance. That's the hardest part of this math, is figuring out, are we solving for time, distance, or speed? Distance. So take your triangle. What letter do I cover up? D. Do it. Cover up the D. What am I left with? S times T. Very good. All right, plug in your numbers. Which number represents your speed? Which number represents your time? What's your speed? 65 miles per hour times, what's my time?
5 hours.
5 hours. Notice I'm writing down the units because I will be grading you on units. All right, what's 65 times 5? 5 times 5 is 25, carry the 2. 32, thank you. So my distance is equal to 325 what? Be careful. So, it is miles. Okay? Be very careful. How do I know it's miles? Where do you see it's miles? Not inches, not feet. The M. So you see this M right here? That's why it's miles. Why don't I write hours with it? Because it's a distance. And distance is only inches, centimeters, feet, miles. So don't be adding more words. All right, we're good?
To make it more hard.
Yeah, exactly. So you just multiply the two numbers and you have your answer. Cruz ran a total of 15 miles over the weekend. Okay, not together. A little on Saturday, a little on Sunday. Okay, Cruz ran a total of 15 miles over the weekend. If his speed was 3 miles per hour, how long did it take him? Okay, so Cruz just wanted to run all weekend. So he ran a little bit Saturday morning, a little bit Saturday night, woke up on Sunday, ran some more. And then he added all that up and got 15 miles. And his Apple Watch told him that his speed was 3 miles per hour. Nowadays, that's what your Apple Watch can do. Pretty cool. Okay, what are we solving for?
45.
How long?
How long? And if you look at your notes, quotation marks, how long, what is that? Time. Okay, the hardest part is figuring out, are we doing distance, speed, or time? Okay, okay, so cover up the T.
Distance divided by 28.
So time is equal to distance divided by speed. That's why we have our handy dandy 2.0 Dorito Man. Okay, what's our distance? This is your distance. So 15 miles. What's your speed? What's our speed? 3 miles per hour. Carry your units. Divided by 3 miles per hour. Okay, so we're going to divide. All right, it's pretty easy division. What's 15 divided by 3? 5 what?
Hours.
How do you know it's hours?
Miles per hour.
Miles per hour. Do you know what happens to these 2 miles? They go away. They go away. If a word repeats, even if it's just abbreviated, they cross out. They get eliminated. It is 5 hours. Does it make sense that I say it takes him 5 hours? Yes, right? Not yet. I don't know if we're gonna have time. We're good? Jade traveled, this is our last one. Jade traveled a total of 632 miles in her super awesome car in 8 hours.
What the?
How fast was she going? Okay. Jade traveled a total of 632 miles in 8 hours without stopping. How fast was she going?
Super fast.
So what are we solving for?
Speed.
Speed. How do you know it's speed? How fast? This is speed. Cover up the S. Good. Cover up the S. What are we left with?
Distance. Divide by.
Okay, plug in your numbers. What's the distance? How far did she go? She went 2 miles? Oh, I just heard the 32 and I was like, what? 632 miles. What's the time?
8 hours.
8 hours. Notice how I'm writing down the units. The more you write down the units, the easier it's going to be for you to plug in your units for your answer. Because if you get the right number, like, oh, it's 100, but you don't tell me the right units, everything's wrong. You have to tell me the right units. Well, we're going to practice, of course. Okay, what's 632 divided by 8?
79.
Okay, so speed is equal to 79 what? What is a speed units? Yeah,
Per hour.
literally, but you need 3 words. It's right here. Are any of the words repeating?
No.
No, so you don't cross out anything. You use all 3 words. Where's the third word? Miles per hour. This line is super special. It actually means per. The division line means per. Miles per hour. Is she breaking the speed limit?
Yes, and
Miles per